What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Today, your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content rolls on with the Bard. That's right, that little dude in the back unsheathing his deadly mandolin is upon us. If you like what you're seeing, remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps out a whole bunch. And before we begin, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by Anthony Campanaro. My friend, thank you so much for your help. Now, let's dive in. So, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, the Bard was a character that everybody, at least in my experience, wanted to see at the table, but nobody really wanted to play. They were good. I believe the Bard is a very good class. They have unique spells, all their own. They buff us, they debuff them. They can fill in for other niches in a party that may not be filled with versatile performance, but it never fails. Everywhere I go, people I speak to, bards are either just kind of second-class citizens or they're the whipping boy of the classes in Dungeons and Dragons. I personally think that statement is totally unfair. I enjoy playing bards. I almost played one over at IOPC and Rise of the Runelords, but fortunately my character didn't die, so that's sweet. But in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, bards are getting huge changes. First off, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, bards are full 10th level spellcasters. Quote, as before, bards are spontaneous spellcasters who make up for their having not quite as many spells as the other spontaneous caster, the sorcerer, by having special bardic performances. But this time around, bards don't have a delayed spellcasting progression. Instead, they have one fewer spell in their repertoire and one fewer spell slot per day at each spell level compared to the sorcerer. With an offbeat spell list that combines mental magic, a handful of unique additions, and a little bit of healing, bards are the primary occult spellcasters. This brings bards, whose spell list has grown with far less than that of wizards, to the forefront amongst the other primary spellcasters, and I think that is so cool, because what better way to bring a class into the limelight than to give them a shot in the arm spellcaster-wise? Not only are they casting with the same power level as the wizard, now they have their own spell list. That's really exciting for me. And in addition, a bard can replace the somatic casting and verbal casting components of spellcasting by playing a musical instrument. But it doesn't stop there. Bardic performances getting an overhaul as well, with the power of compositions. Quote, compositions are a special type of spell that only bards gain. In exchange for their slightly lower number of spells, most of their compositions are cantrips, usable at will, meaning you no longer need to worry about running out of bardic performance rounds per day. Not only that, they're often cast with a single action. That is amazing. We'll never run out of rounds of performance, which was not so relevant in high-level play, but at level 1, when you're charisma plus a little bit, and then that's all the singing you can do magically that day, it kind of was not the best. Now, not so. Free forever and ever as long as you got actions. And hey, speaking of those actions, let's take a look at one of these cantrips here. Everyone's favorite, the reason why everyone wanted that bard in the party, Inspire Courage. It's a cantrip. Casting time is 1 verbal casting. 60-foot aura for a round. You inspire your allies with words or tunes of encouragement. You and all allies in the aura gain a +1 conditional bonus to attack rolls, damage rolls, and saves against fear. Usually a bard can cast only 1 composition per turn and have only 1 active at a time. Okay, so you can't. I'm gonna contradict what I said on the Around the Hearth that comes out a little later, because I did that first. This go around, we can't just Inspire Courage, debuff that guy, Allegro that guy, move forward. But that still frees up a couple actions for us to Inspire Courage and then move and shoot our short bow, or Inspire Courage, move, and El Kabong! Somebody in the face with our violin or our lute or a mandolin or all 3 at once. I don't know what we're playing. Nevertheless, it's there. Bards, much like all the other classes basically in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, will also be getting powers and spell points. Quote, many bard powers allow you to manipulate and customize your performances as you desire, including increasing the duration, granting a more significant bonus, an extremely powerful benefit, yeah, oh man, I can imagine, or having multiple compositions active at any time. Typically, these extra benefits require a successful performance check to activate and provide an even more powerful effect on a critical success. The first one we see, Lingering Composition. Its power level is 1, casting time is 1 verbal casting. On the trigger, you finish casting a cantrip composition with a duration of a round. You attempt to add a flourish to your composition to extend its benefits. Attempt a performance check. The DC is usually a high difficulty DC of a level equal to the highest level target of your composition, but the GM can assign a different DC based on the circumstances. The effect depends on the result of your check. On a success, the composition lasts for 2 rounds. Critically succeed, it will last for 3. On a failure, the composition lasts for 1 round. Now, since we're going to have proficiency in performance, we assume, because Bard, it's probably going to be relatively easy to critically succeed these things. And there you go. Activate that power. Hit somebody who's got your Inspire Courage. They have it for 3 more rounds, and you're freed up to debuff. You're freed up to do other crazy things. Super good, super versatile. I'm loving it. And also, you know what else I'm loving? I'm loving the new Lem. Here he is, kind of looking like he's gonna shank us. You have a dagger and you look kind of a murderous at the moment. Let's talk about muses, shall we? Quote, a bard's inspiration comes from a unique place, his muse. There are 3 muses in the Pathfinder playtest. The first is Maestro, focused on powers that alter compositions. Next is Lore, focused on occultism, willpower, and unusual knowledge. The third is Polymath, focused on being a jack of all trades with increased skill and ability to handle unexpected situations, including the ability to keep a spell book to prepare a small number of new spells to add to your repertoire each day. Ooh! As befits the individualistic nature of a performer's muse, none of the initial muse abilities are exclusive, so you can use your feats to traverse as deeply as you want into the abilities from each path. Your muse merely represents a starting point on your bardic journey. If you select the Maestro Muse at first level, you gain Lingering Composition and add Soothe to your spell repertoire. But of course, again, any bard can take this feat or learn this spell. The Muse just grants them as a default. Anywho, moving on, let's talk about some bard features. Quote, as a bard, you gain spellcasting and occult spell proficiency at the same levels as the other spellcasters. I really need to know what the high-level occult spells are. By the way, much curious. New spell levels at every odd level except 19. Expert proficiency in occult spells at 12th level. Master proficiency at 16th. And legendary proficiency at 19th. You also have the most trained skills at first level except for rogues. Just barely edging out rangers. So I'm imagining the rogues at 8+ and the bards at 7. The ranger sits at 6. I'm guessing. We'll see. We'll see really soon too with that hype. Finally, you begin play at first level with 2 compositions. The Inspire Courage cantrip, and the Counter Performance power, which we see right here. Its power level is 1, its casting is a reaction verbal casting or reaction somatic casting. Its trigger, you or an ally within 60 feet must roll a saving throw against an auditory or visual effect, which is really a lot of things. Its area, a 60-foot aura. You protect yourself and allies through performance. Choose an auditory performance if the trigger was auditory, or a visual performance if it was visual. Then roll a performance check for the chosen performance. You and allies in the area can use the higher result of your performance check on their saves. Seems real good, especially at high level play with all the proficiency we'll be able to sync into performance. And also the blog notes, it's a reaction, not something you activate ahead of time like in first edition. Creatures that rely on visual or auditory effects looking at you, illusionists that the GM builds up, will be countered pretty easily by the bard. Bards are definitely feeling a lot more versatile, a lot more, I won't necessarily say necessary, because I think necessary is determined by the meta and by the GM, but in like a super optimized, very dangerous, very deadly kind of party, I can see a bard or 2 being super relevant, especially the way that compositions work. That way we can have 2 performances going at once, and we have all these other actions with which to do stuff. I really like it. Anywho, short blog today, we're rounding it out with Bard feats. Quote, Bard feats tend to fall in 2 categories. Feats associated that are loosely associated with one of 3 muses, and those that grant a new composition. For instance, the Cantrip Expansion feat at 4th level allows you to add 2 cantrips from the occult spell list to your spell repertoire. Okay, this kind of feels, and again, we talked about this on the Around the Hearth, which goes live shortly after, kinda like the 5th edition Warlock. Granted, we haven't seen Eldritch Blast yet, but we're very cantrip based, and that's pretty cool. At level 14, the cantrip, this used to be a spell actually back in the day, Allegro means we get haste on a cantrip. Yeah, that's right. Its casting is a verbal casting, 1 ally within 30 feet for a round. The ally is quick and can use the action to strike, stride, or step as a cantrip. Haste. Yeah, that's a thing. That's going to happen. Bards are looking really strong. Bards are looking really deadly. Also, can we talk about the fact that the Bard will be alongside the Sorcerer, the Master of Resonance in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, because they're charisma-based? Well, probably anyway. There's nothing in the blog that definitively says, hey, this guy casts off his charisma, but he did. I could definitely see a Lore Bard being intelligence-based. I could also see, perhaps, Wisdom for the Lore Bard with that occultism and stuff, but we're assuming these guys are still charisma-based. If so, they're going to have Resonance for days, which is really powerful, and I think Bards are going to see a little more play in Pathfinder 2nd Edition for that reason. Also, in a world where critical hits are hits that hit 10 over somebody's armor class, in a world where the big 6 isn't as prevalent and we need buffs from somewhere else, the Bard feels a little more relevant than just that guy who would show up, inspire courage, and then that's what he did. What do you guys think about the Bard? Are you playing one in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Did you like him in Pathfinder 1st Edition? And more importantly, have you got an email that your Pathfinder 2nd Edition books have shipped? Because I have. I'm so stoked. Not this Friday, not next Friday, the Friday after. We're playing Doomsday Dawn here on the channel. We're playing Doomsday Dawn on Twitch. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. And for you out there at home, if you'd like to play on, Fantasy Grounds Ultimate Edition, we're giving away 1 copy of a really sweet virtual tabletop. 1 copy's good enough for you and all your friends. Follow this card right up here to be directed to that giveaway. And hey, remember, patronage at any tier grants you an extra entry in all of our giveaways. Anywho, that's all we got for today. Thank you so much for your time. Be sure to like and subscribe. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content, we're really hoping we get half-elves and half-orcs and humans. I Need to Know Paizo drops this Saturday.